Welcome back to the Purple Political Breakdown. I'm a bit late here, but time to react to the congressional speech for Donald Trump. Now, at the very end, I'll be using a source to fact check everything that was said here. With that said, let's dive right into it.
Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. Six weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years.
Accomplished more. I'm gonna get petty over every little kind of hyperbolic statement made, but accomplished more. Okay.
Years, and we are just getting started.
Is that Tim Scott?
Thank you. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it.
I've been on 1.25 speed, by the way.
The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory that reads almost completely red for Republican.
All right, let's get into some more substance stuff.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. The Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order.
What is that? What is happening here?
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted.
So this is the guy. Apparently, he's a Republican. And they kicked him out for some reason. Apparently.
Disruption of proper decorum. The chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. Go.
Get out, man.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation.
Yeah, that's not true. You haven't done anything but ruin the country. I'm being petty, but, we're here.
And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country.
Invasion.
And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
That's not true.
They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds.
Let's be very clear. Joe Biden has deported more people than Donald Trump has, so that's just not true. But it sounds good. Sounds good.
Of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that?
That's not true.
This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most.
And there's nothing bad you can do that will make MAGA not dislike you. They're blindly loyal. So, it goes both ways. Blind loyalty and then actual, someone who is willing to push back. We got 2 sides of the spectrum. It's kind of crazy. This is where we're at, though.
Most devastating disease.
So much for bipartisanship.
A disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical.
I want to be very clear. I have no attachment to the person that is Donald Trump. I just think he does a lot of things that is bad for the country and has been proven to be bad. However, if he's able to achieve these astronomical feats that he's claiming he's doing, which hasn't happened yet, then I'll be right here saying, you know what? I was wrong. I'm not attached to hating this guy. I'm attached to a better country. Now, how we get there is the question.
Achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
I know a lot of MAGA apologists are going to attach to that. See, Donald Trump is trying to be nice to Democrats. Give me a break, bro.
I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council.
They're just going to clap for everything.
We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our
Leaving the World Health Organization has not been good so far. A lot of countries are struggling from that and the USAID. So I don't know where's the corruption. There's nothing that's been proven to be corrupt regarding the World Health Organization. That's just, again, propaganda. As for what else? The environmental policies. I mean, he just doesn't believe climate change exists.
And totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction.
Oh, that's so hilarious considering all the tariffs he did that's been ruining auto industries. But
To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every 1 new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term.
Is that how you run a country? Just destroy all regulations? Okay. All right, though. Love to see it. Love to see it. Oops.
Thank you very much. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America.
Yeah.
I
you could do
renamed
that.
the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Why? Don't know. Just to piss off the Mexico, I guess.
And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again.
Why? Don't know. I'll be honest. Again.
Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
Because screw brown people, of course.
And our country will be woke no longer.
I will say, like, I think the DI stuff is getting pretty unhinged in terms of like cutting everything. Because there's obviously purpose behind DEI to provide opportunity for the people who don't have the opportunity to succeed compared to like, you know, more rich middle class, upper class individuals. However, I mean, there's no denying it, and I don't think there's any reason to lie about it that, yeah, the woke stuff got unhinged and it just didn't help the case. So it is what it is, you know.
We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important.
You don't get hired based off of race. Oh my God.
You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Congratulations. I mean, none of this stuff, I'll be honest, none of this stuff other than like the unhinged DEI stuff matters. You know, the pronoun stuff don't matter. The Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America stuff, kind of unhinged, I'll be honest. But yeah, none of this really means anything to me at the very least.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
That did not get passed. He signed an executive order, doesn't mean that it's getting passed.
3 years ago, Peyton
Let's be very
McNabb
clear.
was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side.
I don't think that's true. I don't think this story is true. But if it is true, kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think it's true, though.
Schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding.
Is that the girl that has paralyzed? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the stopping. You know what's funny and what's crazy to me is that the idea that states should have more ownership over what their schools do, but then you also want to destroy the Department of Education to allow states to have more say to what they do, but you're also trying to instill a policy where you are doing exactly what the Department of Education does by taking away funding. So it's like a double standard. Certain stuff that I want those schools and those states aren't allowed to do. But other stuff they are allowed to do, and the states should have full autonomy. It just makes no sense.
And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
Shout out COVID.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price.
Ain't no way he's blaming Joe Biden for the egg stuff. Ain't no way, yo. Yo, Donald Trump is a sneaky dude, man. So when it comes to COVID, that he was the president for, not his fault. But when it comes to the egg stuff, definitely Joe Biden's fault. Double standards. Are we surprised? Of course not. Of course not. Double standard.
Price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job.
Oh my God, it's so funny to hear the double standard, man.
A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA.
Didn't he say that the reason why he wants Ukraine is because of the rare earths? The rare earths is why he wants Ukraine? Isn't that a big thing?
The flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps.
Yeah, that thing is corrupt as hell, man.
Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Wait. It's headed by Elon Musk. What about the White House making a declaration that he's only an advisor? What about the Doge employees saying that you're not my boss? So now all of a sudden it's headed by Elon Musk. I don't know, man. See, stuff when it comes to the Trump administration, there's just so many things just don't add up. Now to be fair, I'm gonna say I'm trying to write down notes. So something that I'm unsure about, I don't have a strong opinion, is the drill baby drill stuff. Of course, there's going to be environmental disasters in terms of depending on where you drill oil. The United States was already #1 in terms of oil production under the Biden administration. So there's really nothing going to change there. And if you drill in certain spots, that could be very damaging. So I want to see how everything kind of plays out. As for the trans athletes in women's sports, I was one of those people that was never okay with it. I never thought it was a strong argument. So trying to give more perspectives other than the mass amount of stuff I do not like from what Donald Trump is saying.
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous people.
So basically, the idea is that all these countries that are doing policies or doing programs that I don't like is a waste of money. And that's a terrible way to run things. I'm gonna be honest. That's a terrible way to run things. He's just naming things and then characterizing it as bad without explaining exactly what it's doing. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
That's not true. I guarantee that. That's a terrible
real.
characterization. No, it's not.
$32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior.
A lot of this is definitely mischaracterizations because, I mean, that's just what Trump does. Again, after this, if you already watched this whole thing, I'm going to go into a website that fact-checked everything. I'll be reading everything off. I won't be picking and choosing which facts are correct and which facts are wrong. We'll just see exactly if everything he's saying is correctly or correctly characterized. You know, we love fact-checking over here. I don't know about everybody else.
Scams. And they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things. Taken back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are.
That's probably a mischaracterization too. Also don't be confused that Donald Trump also fired so many people who worked in the business, the attorney generals who are meant to be partisan individuals to ensure that the corruption and unfairness, all that stuff doesn't happen. He's fired a lot of them, and without any due process. They're trying to figure out. A lot of judges actually are blocking him because he was doing this unfairly. So don't forget that. Do not forget that. Do not forget that, of course.
Are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old.
That's a lie. Now, they did find people who had a very small percentage, like less than 1%, that may have fell under the system, but that is not a normal thing at all. So they're just over exaggerating it being an issue.
It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby. Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age, more than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going.
A lot of Republicans laughing, and he's just lying, just lying so confidently.
And it's not going to be.
I can't believe we don't allow fact checking every time someone says something. I don't know why that's just like not mandatory.
By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it.
All right, he said we're going to balance the federal budget. We shall see. We shall see.
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from...
So I don't have a strong opinion. I'm going to write this down here. Gold Card. I've talked about this on my podcast, Purple Political Breakdown. Make sure you go listen to it. And I don't know. Because we've already had something like that in place. Like, this is not a new thing that Donald Trump is introducing. What he's doing, though, he's increasing the amount of investment that these people can invest in to come into the country. Being, I think previously it was $1 million, now it's going to be $5 million. So I don't know. We'll see how this kind of works out. I'm curious to see what Elon Musk thinks because he's very pro skilled immigration, and the people who can afford $1 million are obviously going to be skilled labor immigration. So
from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again.
yeah, that's not true either. The stuff about, obviously he's filibustering in terms of the lies about illegal immigration. As for the federal workers that are not in the office, that are not going to work, that's just not true. That entire statistic was completely false and mischaracterized, per usual. Most of them do go to work. A grand majority of them go to work. So you know, you love false statistics, though.
And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
You mean, oh, unelected bureaucrats? You mean like Elon Musk? The day of rule of unelected bureaucrats is over. But Elon Musk, who's in charge of Doge, who hasn't been elected, who hasn't been appointed, and who hasn't been confirmed, who's the richest man in the world, he's good, though. And the young people in Doge, they're good, though. Double standards. You love to see it.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that.
Wow, he's trying to threaten Democrats to get tax cuts. Trying to threaten Democrats with tax cuts. Oh my goodness. Donald Trump is a very evil and very crafty man.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
Can I get no taxes? You know what? If we're going through shit, let me get no taxes too. You know what I'm saying?
And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us...
They were not successful. That's a lie. Tax cuts were successful for very rich people. Let's be very clear. The tax cuts hurt the lower middle class and lower class a lot. They actually were screwed over in terms of taxes, but the upper, I think 15% benefited from tax cuts a lot. They got to save a lot of money.
The most successful economy in the history of our country, first term.
True.
We had a great first term.
Shout out Barack Obama.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day.
Not a terrible joke. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of stuff he's making up to fit his narrative. But I mean, now that he put the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, China, I don't know. I don't have as strong an opinion. But now they put retaliatory tariffs on us. So we'll see how everything kind of plays out.
If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, the Joe Biden created a whole lot of jobs. I think he created more jobs, actually, than you did. As for the job stuff, I mean, it's kind of hilarious how he's creating jobs, but also firing so many people in so many important sectors. But, you know.
We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies, we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced.
I will give him this. There's a couple of individuals. I mean, the way he's phrasing it is interesting, but that have invested a lot into the country. I think there was a like very rich. I don't want to say Saudi Arabian, but like a very rich official, let's say Middle Eastern guy, who invested like billions of dollars in his a technology that helps empower AI in the United States. That was, you could say a pro. I mean, I'm pro AI, so I would say that's a pro. And there's something else that happened. He's probably gonna mention it. So
A $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on Earth right here in the USA.
is there a possibility that by screwing over a lot of our allies and cutting taxes on the very, very, very wealthy, that this could incentivize a lot of rich people to invest in the country? Yeah, that is a possibility. But in my opinion, anyway, I think there's a danger that the disparity between the 1% and the rest of the America, the poor, the lower middle class, the lower class, is going to grow even larger. So, we'll see how everything plays out. If this ends up being a benefit, I'll praise it, of course. That's why I'm not criticizing it right now.
And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people, and they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt.
He basically wants to get rid of all of Joe Biden's policies. Why? Because they're Joe Biden policies. There's no logic to anything there. And then he wants to get all the credit. So he's going to blame all the bad stuff on Biden, and they get all the credit for everything good. So he wants to get rid of it all. I don't know. We'll see how everything works out.
Or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer.
Right.
Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies. They're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd.
To be very clear, the last time he did a big tariff that affected farmers in his first administration, that actually ruined our agricultural section. It was really bad. I think they sued. So again, talking, not knowing what he's talking about, and it sounds good. You know what I'm saying? It sounds good.
Maybe a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did, probably.
Oh, he just told you that's exactly what I was referring to. Because of that action, he screwed over farmers. He did not help them. He screwed over them.
You have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing.
So it's Biden's fault, even though the farmers were pissed during the Trump administration. Oh, but it's Biden's fault, even though he wasn't president. Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you.
I wonder who he blamed when they were pissed during his administration. I'm so curious who he blamed in that situation. But, you know.
Too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military and frankly we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker.
Wait. So these materials are good. So you're going to put a tariff to make it harder to get the materials. Got it. Makes sense to me. 100%.
Fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama. Jeff Denard has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She worked so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. This is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John. Thank you all very much. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast.
Right.
And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy.
I just want to remind people watching this, because, you know, information and facts are very important. Illegal immigrants are not full. When the illegal immigrant qualifier, when it comes to the United States, are not just a bunch of criminals. That's not a thing. A lot of them are people waiting for the asylum process. A lot of them are people here because of a potential conflict, so they're a refugee or have temporary status. A lot of them are brought here due to trafficking and are just here. A lot of them are children of parents who immigrated here. So illegal immigrants, for the majority, are just waiting for a process or waiting for documentation. The ones who are criminals are always sent out of the country. They're not allowed to be in here. Not at all. And what the Republicans and the Trump administration has been doing is that they are being more critical of people. Well, actually, people who are just like waiting for the process, now they are getting sent out. So they don't even get any due process regarding the process. And people who are getting even accused of certain crimes are getting thrown out the country without any due process at all. So let's get the facts very clear. You know what I'm saying?
I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
Oh, I got to comment on that one. I have to. We have to take care of our law enforcement But I'm gonna pardon January Sixers who were beating down, insulting, doing some terrible thing to our law enforcement. But those guys are pardoned. But we have to take care of our law enforcement. Double standards, per usual.
Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren.
Now, in this situation, I'm not going to be upset because all politicians use this tactic by trying to adhere to a anecdotal circumstance to attach it to a political agenda that you're trying to push. So, I mean, all politicians do this. Can't be mad that Trump is doing this. Obviously, you feel for the family, and obviously, we don't want elite criminals that are illegal in the country. We don't want criminals at all, to be honest.
Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed.
So he's doubling down on his lie about Springfield, Ohio. Let's just put everything in perspective. He said the people in Springfield, Ohio had a bunch of illegal immigrants, which wasn't true. A lot of those Haitians were legal migrants, and that they were eating cats and dogs. And he's doubling down. It's just disgusting.
Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old was kidnapped, arrested and charged by the 11-year-old girl. Earlier tonight, learned about from where Job Refuge, God's creatures, renamed that. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? So, Mr. Vice President, in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, 1,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures. You will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge. And used so much, he loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge. A pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if
Oh my! So he renamed the wildlife sanctuary. I mean, I mean, it's a good gesture. I'm not gonna hate on it, even though I'm gonna just let it go. Just move on. I'm not gonna hate on it.
If you would. Thank you very much. As trendy members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang they say in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, gangs can be very destructive, so I don't have a strong opinion.
Them.
I mean, obviously a lot of laws regarding immigration, but we'll move.
In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande, near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When totally explore his fellow, some of the you for your great behavior that you showed. He's a great jelly by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever.
I feel like that was a very manipulative characterization, but all right.
But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it.
A couple of the things that I said when before Donald Trump won, is that the people that I'm most scared of, that I'll be worried if I was this individual, are people that are either asylum seekers, waiting for the asylum process, or DACA, those type of people, and obviously LGBTQ people. Those are the people I'm most worried for. So we'll see what happens with this kind of deportation process.
And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam.
Let's be very clear. The former FBI director was appointed, guess who? By who? Donald Trump. And then he thinks he's corrupt. Okay.
Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you.
Yo, I need that Epstein files unredacted. I don't need no names redacted on that Epstein files. Release it all. Let's just get all chaos. All the names should be exposed. All of the names. Every single one of them. Every single one.
Thank you, Cash.
Because the first phase of Epstein files didn't show anything. Pam Bondi actually wrote a strong worded letter to Kash Patel because of it. Most
They've
unqualified.
already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them.
Right.
We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great
Yeah, the bad guys don't respect the law. You're right. You're absolutely right.
fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. One year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when murders.
All this police stuff means nothing to me since you pardoned January 6ers.
While enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he is to live. That was more than 6 years ago. His dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. Peace occur into a. Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe 1970 America Healthy Again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. RFK turned his whole back on to align with you. How quickly they forget. Sure.
Goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong, 1 in 36, think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby, good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Go get him. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl.
Either a mischaracterization or not true, and at the very least, what we can definitely say is that surgeries do not happen to kids. That is not a thing at all.
Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, I will say that, yeah, sometimes teachers can be unhinged at some of these schools. So, you know. Sometimes. Not all the time.
Signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth.
Well, that doesn't happen, so that's not going to be a big deal.
And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body.
Sex changes for children don't happen, so again, not a big deal.
This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a day.
Yeah, he's going to try to take credit. From what I've seen, a lot of it is due to changing recruiting measures, lowering standards, and changing how they do things. So it's mostly that, not that because... No, I'm not going to say Donald Trump doesn't play a part in it, because a lot of youth are inspired by this man. But the majority of it is due to procedures changing. So let's just get that very clear, you know?
Different. And that we couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a... And it's very simple. Thank you. Knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was all family. So you that your application. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion regarding the dome idea. I mean, the United States is not in threat to get attacked by anybody. It's never has been. So will this change anything? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think we're at that kind of threat. I think you could argue that the funding could be sent somewhere else, but you know, we'll see. We'll see.
Ronald
You can never
Reagan
be too safe.
One incredible, actually, and other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it.
I mean, they're and more of a threat to get missiles sent at them compared to us. The only ones who could really send missiles at us that will be warring is Canada or Mexico. So, bit different.
Thank you, but it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens. Resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon.
Did something change in terms of our shipbuilding? Don't we still have the biggest navy? To be honest, that's not something I've looked up, so it's something I can check on my own accord. I don't have a strong opinion about shipbuilding. Someone put that in the unsure category.
It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
So this is funny. So I'm gonna point this out here. He said my administration. You know what? I'm gonna rewind it, and then I'm gonna make sure we understand what he said here.
Panama Canal, our national security. My administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've
already started doing it. My administration. So as of right now, from what I'm aware of, is that BlackRock has purchased a lot of, I don't know, parts of the Panama Canal. But he said my administration. BlackRock? BlackRock is your administration? Because that's the only way you can connect the dots. So again, something that we've said is he's been working with a lot of rich people. So now we get a clear example of Donald Trump working with very rich people, very successful people. And I know nobody's going to care, even though under Joe Biden, BlackRock was the enemy of the people. But Elon Musk, BlackRock, now they're part of the Trump administration. Let's be very clear about that.
already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama
name the
Canal and
company.
a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others.
Name the company.
But others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work.
You see how he won't name the company? You see how he won't name the company? It's so funny.
They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
So you're just gonna, I mean, if they do things appropriately, like have the biggest, most wealthiest company or firm in the world purchase it, then I mean I can't be mad at that. It's not forceful control. But I'm just saying. It's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Now we have Marco Rubio.
Yep,
George,
he's not
good
gonna
luck,
say the
Marco.
company's name.
Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes.
Yeah, Marco wasn't one of the most qualified candidates you could pick, and then you had people like Pete Hegseth, who was garbage. You had Linda McMahon, who was garbage. You had Kash Patel, who was garbage. You had Tulsi Gabbard, who was garbage. Marco Rubio is one of the few people I was like, oh yeah, even though I don't agree with everything he's saying, he's 100% qualified. So, of course.
You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman. I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. Thank you.
W Glaze.
Incredible people of Greenland.
All right, let's talk about Greenland.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe.
One way, okay, that line was very aggressive. One way or the other. I'll let him finish, but actually.
But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Should I take that as a joke, or is that a threat to Denmark? I mean, I'll put it like this. There's a interesting conversation in regards to Greenland in terms of whether they want to be sovereign, whether they want to join the United States. I mean, if the people of Greenland want to leave Denmark, I mean, I don't care. You know, I don't have a strong opinion about that. But the statement of one way or the other, we're going to get it, seems very threatening to me. I don't know.
We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
If that's true, shout out.
And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was.
So manipulative. The way he characterizes everything, it's evil genius levels, I'm not gonna lie.
It had never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister. Term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense, with no security, with no anything.
What does that mean?
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
W racism.
2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop.
Yeah, I mean, this is just full of crap because I think Russia invading Ukraine is an act on Ukraine. So they're the aggressors. But when it comes down to, and this is the double standard I'm talking about, it's either you understand conflict or you don't play this moral high ground card that you think you care about the people who are dying. Because when it comes to the Israel-Hamas situation, you're very aggressive to the Palestinians, to the young Palestinians who are dying, and you don't care about them. Matter of fact, you are reinforcing, reinstigating Israel. That if Hamas doesn't follow through, we're going to give you everything you need to completely take over. So let's not pretend you care about the lives. It just helps your agenda because you're aligned with Russia and you will care about Russia lives because you like Putin. Let's be very clear about that.
Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened.
European countries spent more than America for Ukraine, so that's just not true.
And they've spent, Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you.
Definitely a mischaracterization, but Zelensky did indicate that he's willing to negotiate for peace because they do need the funding and aid. They really have no leverage in this situation. Now, a lot of the European countries are trying to create or at the very least, the UK ambassador, a prime minister, wants to raise money to help Ukraine if the U.S. decides to pull out. They paused, not officially pulled out aid. So, we'll see when that happens. But Ukraine understands they need the United States. Now, the question is, you can't play the high, even though you're right, you can't play with your people's lives. Like, Zelensky's not that type of leader. So in this situation, even if a ceasefire took place, that's better than risking people's lives, even though we know Putin's going to invade later on and it's not going to mean anything long term. So Zelensky's in a very terrible spot, being the smaller, weaker country who's on the defense. But if I'm Zelensky, I'm definitely working with some of these other NATO countries to kind of figure out, I definitely need that security guarantee. If the United States is not going to get it to me, some other country needs to. So we'll see.
I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
A very specific type of peace where they know that Ukraine doesn't go into NATO, Ukraine doesn't get any security guarantees, and Russia gets all the territory they wanted from Ukraine. So Russia doesn't lose anything, and Ukraine loses everything. That's the peace that Russia wants.
Wouldn't that be beautiful? It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end the senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. But they had no morphine. I did just safe and sound, and a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Just happened to that stage. I never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, We thought they were gone, and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their two beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you. To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his three beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever. Reason I was saved by God to make across the Delaware, Kitty Hawk, all arts, to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the Americas that death doers.
Are you going to say anything else of
Continent.
substance?
They built the railroad, a mighty world with American intel. We stand who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood.
Okay, everything else is kind of like filler. General thoughts. I won't go into that. Let's go into fact checking. All right. Before we get into that, my general thoughts in regards to it is that was it a good speech in terms of like the performance? I would say so. It was a good performative speech. Was there a lot of lies and misinformation? Of course. What do you expect? All right, so let's go into some of the fact checking and some of the stuff that Donald Trump has said. So, first claim, Social Security databases show 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149, and money is being paid to many of them. Like I said when I was watching, I already knew this was false. Trump recited numbers from the chart Elon Musk shared on X that showed millions of people in Social Security databases over the age of 100, including about 3.5 million in the 140 to 149 bracket and one in the 360, 369 bracket. The acting Social Security commissioner said that the people older than 100 who do not have a date of death associated with their Social Security record are not necessarily receiving benefits. Recent Social Security Administrator data shows that about 89,000 people ages 99 and older receive Social Security benefits. So 89,000 is a very different number from 3.5 million. Now MAGA is going to move the goalposts and go like, well, that's still a lot. I mean, there are people over 99. Those people exist. You know what I'm saying? Government database may classify someone as 150 years old for reasons peculiar to the complex Social Security database or because of missing data, but that doesn't mean that millions of payments are delivered fraudulently to people with implausible ages. Now, those situations where that stuff does happen needs to be more efficient. I agree there. You don't want a circumstance where there's a accidentally the potentiality of funds being sent improperly, but overall the numbers that was giving was false. All right, we found hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud. False. Trump created the Department of Government Efficiency by executive order. As of March 4th, the Doge website showed showed $105 billion in savings, but its wall of receipts, where it claimed to track savings generated from Doge's cuts, showed less than 20 billion. So a very different number than that they are saying that they actually cut. That they are saying they cut, and obviously that's also in context on whether or not this is actually a benefit to the country. So we shall see. Let me keep on going. 1 second. Sorry about that. Here's the next one. I was responding to one person. Let me continue so I can finish out this video. 1.9 billion to recently created decarbonization of homes committee, which was headed by Stacey Abrams. To recently created decarbonation homes. Stacey Abrams. I remember that name. I just didn't know the context. Trump listed several federal spending items he characterized as examples of appalling waste. His list included a mention of 1.9 billion to decarbonization homes. There's no evidence Abrams, the two-time Democratic candidate for Georgia governor, directly received any grant money or engaged in illegal behavior. But you know who did? Eric Adams, just saying. Trump's claim appears to refer to a $2 billion Environmental Protection Agency grant awarded to a coalition of 5 clean energy groups called Power Forward Communities. The coalition included Rewiring America, where Abrams, as an attorney, was senior legal counsel from March 2023 until 2024. The grant, which the EPA awarded under the President Biden, will fund energy-efficient housing projects around the country. So again, it's just a policy they don't like, and they're going to characterize it as fraud. You know, just like I said. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were criminals, basically. False. There was 10.4 million illegal encounters that happened in that span. When accounting for Congressional Republicans' September 2024 gotaways estimate, people who border officials don't stop, the number rises to about 12.4 million. But encounters aren't the same as admissions. Encounters represent events. So one person who tries to cross the border twice counts as 2 encounters. So encounters are people, I mean, the word is very simple. So again, a mischaracterization of illegal immigrants into the country. The estimated number, estimate about 4.5 million encounters led to expulsions or removals. So 4.5 million people got out of here from the encounters. Illegal border crossings last month were about the lowest ever recorded ever. Half true. U.S. Customs has not published official February data. Monthly data has been collected only since 2000. The number Trump cited is the lowest number of monthly illegal crossings between ports of entry since Border Patrol began reporting monthly data. Officials recorded 11,000 encounters in April 2020, the previous low amid the COVID-19 Trump first term. Before 2000, data was annual. It's likely that Trump hard on an immigration approach has played a role in decreasing illegal immigration. I'd say this is true then. Yeah, they weren't counting data before 2000, but I would say this is fully true based on the explanation. So, you know, there you go. Trump gets one in terms of the lowest number of illegal border crossings. And I do think there's a factor knowing that the Trump administration is so against immigration. If you're an immigrant, you have definitely a less incentive to try to come into the country. Economy, no tariffs will take in trillions and trillions of dollars that create jobs like we've never before. I did it with China and I did it with others. Part of Trump's claim is predictive, but the effects of his first term round of tariffs were not as positive as he said. In 2018, Trump levied 25% tariffs on steel and 10% tariffs on aluminum, although some countries, including major trading partners Canada and Mexico, were fully or partially exempted. Under Biden, the U.S. negotiated with Europe and Japan to lift those tariffs, but tariffs on other countries, notably China, remain. Trump also authorized tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese products, prompting China to retaliate with up to 25% tariffs. And then Trump imposed up to 30% tariffs on solar panels and 20% tariffs on washing machines. We examined more than a dozen academic and think tank studies on the effect of Trump's first-term tariffs. Some found gains for domestic industries that had foreign competitors hit with tariffs, but numerous analysis found that on balance, Trump tariffs' negative effect on the economy and consumer costs were bigger. So his tariffs are not good. Joe Biden let the price of eggs get out of control. Half true. Oh, okay. Maybe I was wrong when I was watching it. The price of eggs has risen dramatically, but this admits that the price hikes occurred during an outbreak of bird flu, which I did know. I mean, technically, I guess bird flu did happen under the Biden administration, but I feel like it was getting more notable during the Trump administration, which is why I said it was a lie. But no, I didn't say it was a lie. It was a mischaracterization because I compared it to COVID because Trump was in charge during COVID, but Biden gets all the blame, and Biden was president during the bird flu epidemic that was starting, but Trump doesn't get any blame. That's what I was doing. That's the comparison I was making. Under the Biden administration, we suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in our country. Mostly false. I mean, COVID happened. I'm not really too concerned about that one. We spent perhaps $350 billion like taking candy from a baby on Ukraine. This is definitely false. The amount on the U.S. has spent on Ukraine's war with Russia varies depending on what's being counted, but most estimates are in the $175 billion to $185 billion range. A senior defense and security advisor at the Center for Strategic blah 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 told Political Fact. Ukraine Oversight, the website created in blah blah blah, said blah blah blah, has spent $183 billion to help Ukraine. The European Union has given roughly $145 billion in financial, military, humanitarian, and refugee assistance. So close numbers, and I think the expectations of further funding, which is what I was referring to, which I saw a statistic about, European Union will end up giving more than the United States. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Trump cites Greenland, Panama and Greenland, two issues he didn't raise on the campaign trail. Yeah, he mentioned this a lot during the campaign trail. Mexico, Canada have allowed fentanyl to come into our country. Mostly false. I mean, of course, it's just blaming these two countries without any backing. I'll let you guys read this. The Paris Accord was costing us trillions of dollars. False. Wasn't costing the United States trillions of dollars, of course. The Trump administration defended the decision to withdraw. Said these changes will result in higher production costs, and a higher production cost will translate in the closure of uncompetitive manufacturing businesses. Those closures in turn would mean fewer manufacturing jobs. The job would loss. I'll get it. I don't have to read everything to you guys. The first time in modern history, we believe that our country's heading in the right direction. Mostly false. So, a couple of fact checks for you guys, of course. But I mean, Trump lied a lot. What do we expect? With that said, hope you guys enjoyed. You have a good one. Take care.